Hi again, and welcome to another math video, this time teaching you the area of a trapezoid. So what we're going to do first is we're going to look at a trapezoid. And this trapezoid, as you can see, has three measurements that it's given you out. We've got a measurement of 2 centimeters across the top, 4 centimeters across the bottom, and 3 centimeters of a height. Now, those are going to come into play quite well. And what I find that students are doing in math, when they look at a trapezoid, they're thinking of a parallelogram. So a lot of them, when we tried to solve this question, they used area equals length times width. But if you look at this, you've got two different lengths. You've got a measurement for length, we'll call that length 1, and you've got a measurement here for length 2. So we can't use length times width because we've got an issue if we use one of those lengths. They're not the same. Like in a parallelogram. They're parallel, they're never going to touch, but eventually if you continue on this shape will eventually come to look like a triangle if we continue the lines. So we cannot use area equals length times width. However, what we can do is we can manipulate the shape a little bit. And when I say manipulate the shape, I mean that we can create something that's a little bit more friendly to work with. And here's how we would do it. What we would do is we would try to duplicate the trapezoid and make it into a parallelogram. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue that, and I'm going to continue this, and then I'm going to come right across here. And you'll notice that what I've done here, and you'll see that this corner doesn't quite match up, but that's just simply because I'm using my iPad and I've got rather large fingers and it didn't quite work that way. But let's just say in mind that that is equal. So I know you're recognizing it and saying, oh, that's not equal, but let's just assume that it is. So what we've done here is we moved our 4 up to the top here, and we've made this 4 centimeters, and we moved our 2 down to the bottom, and we've made this 2 centimeters, and the height is going to stay the same. So now that we have a parallelogram, it's something that we can use. But if we're measuring for a parallelogram, what do we need to do? If we think about that area for a parallelogram again, length times width. In this case, I still have 2 different measurements, but if I have 2 different measurements, I can do something to make one measurement. And you'll notice that they're equivalent now, equivalent being equal. You've got 2 on here, and 2 here, and 4 here, and 4 here. So if I add the 2 lengths together, then I should be able to come up with the one length or one dimension of what this parallelogram should be. So I can go area equals, and I'm going to refer to this as base 1, and I'm going to add it to base 2. Now take a look at what I mean here. If I looked at the original shape, I had a base of 2 and a base of 4. And all I've done is add base 1 to base number 2. So there's the 4, where the 4 came from, and here's where the 2 came from. And now I've got a measurement of 6. So I'm going to do area equals 6. But if I've still done that, I've still only measured one line, so there's another dimension that I'm missing, and I've got to put that dimension in, which is going to complete my formula. So let me back up a bit here. Let me get rid of that A6 because I'm missing something. B1 and B2 is only measuring the lines, and that would only give me a line. I don't want a line, I want the entire shape. So what I need to do is I need to multiply it by something, and I'm going to multiply it by the height, because that's the only other dimension that I have. And we know that it's a height of 3. But what did I do? Well, I took the trapezoid and I actually cut it, duplicated it, and now I need to cut it in half down that line that I created. And anytime you divide in math or cut something in half or make something smaller, you're dividing. So you end up with a formula that looks like B1 plus B2 times height divided by 2 will give you the formula that you're looking for. And now that you divided by 2, what you've done is you've actually figured out the area of the inside of the trapezoid that we originally started with, which would be this yellow piece right here. So we've got a working formula that we can work with. Now we're just going to plug it in and we're going to see whether or not the numbers actually work and whether or not they're reasonable. So that would be our next step. So we're going to go A equals 2 plus 4, because we've got base 1 plus base 2. And then we're going to multiply it by the height, which is going to be 3. So I'll get rid of that h and I'll make that a 3. We're going to take everything and we're going to divide it by 2. So Knowing that we follow bed mass, we've got 6 in the brackets times 3 divided by 2. That leaves us with 18 over 2, and that leaves us with 9 centimeters squared. So if we look at that and see whether or not it's reasonable, well, we know that if we've got something that's 2, we've got to have larger than 2, and it's probably going to be larger than 4 as well, and it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of these 3 numbers together, and we'll just add them together. We've got 4 and 3 is 7, plus that is 9, but don't fall into just adding the numbers up because that's not going to make it work for you. So this is the formula that we're going to use, and if you have any questions about solving area of a trapezoid, leave a comment below.